Very warm welcome to you in our today's video, and how to generate power in your forehand and backhand through legs is something that is going to be discussed in our today's video. That will be the target, of course, and if you have seen the previous one, you'll remember the most important point that I was referring to again and again, and that was that while you are trying to hit your forehand or backhand, just remember one important thing in mind, that you have to brush the ball from bottom to top. In both cases, whether you are playing a double fisted backhand or a forehand, so this has to be the moment in which you have to spin the ball towards the opponent. So gradually and steadily you are able to add power into your shots, provided you are doing the right movement for spinning the ball. So having said that, the next thing that I have learned from my teachers, my coaches, as well as by watching the matches of professional players, looking at their body movement, analyzing the way they bend, as well as coil and uncoil themselves to generate power. So I started to realize the fact that indeed what the coaches are also trying to teach me is the correct style and the correct approach and methodology for generating power in the shots. So talking about my own experience, and if you wish to replicate it, it's entirely up to you, because as I tell you in each and every video, that our styles can vary, but the approach and the technique is like somewhat almost the same. So there can be variation in the way we are swinging or starting and ending our arm movement. That can vary. As you can see that Medvedev's style seems a little unconventional when it comes to playing forehand or backhand, but despite all that, he's such a tough opponent, and you have seen the way he played against Djokovic in the US Open final, to an extent that he simply defeated him and won the title. So style doesn't matter, the technique does. So what I'm going to refer to by giving you the example of a spring. So what kind of power does a spring have? It has the ability to uncoil itself. Let's say if you're going to apply pressure on a spring, you compress it, so again it will have the capacity to return back to its original position. This concept is also elasticity. You can Google it also, but this ability to return back to its original position. So when you are compressing a spring, what happens? Apologies for it. When you are compressing, so you are basically transferring this kinetic energy to the potential energy of that spring. Now that spring has the potential to return back to its original position, and it will do that by the potential energy that you have simply transferred through the compression of your hand of that spring. So using that same energy, it will return back to its position. So that energy will be released from that spring while coming back to its position. And where will this energy go? It will generally go into space if you will leave it. Otherwise, you will feel it if you will loosen your hand, and when the spring is trying to return back to its position, you will feel that energy in your fingers also. You can give it a try. Just have a small spring. You can take it out from any of your electronic devices or any other thing. Let's say if you have a big spring, you can do the experiment with it. But the point here is simple. You're applying the kinetic energy, getting stored in the potential energy within the spring, and then while it's trying to return back, it's releasing that potential energy, returning it and turning it back to kinetic energy. Now, why am I giving you the example of a spring? Basically, your legs become springs for generating power when we are referring to the forehand and the backhand shots. And how does it all work? Basically, if you notice, when the professional players are moving from side to side, when they are all ready and set to receive the ball, that is the time in which they are not only just doing this uniturn. That's one thing. They have a, let's say, okay, remote is there, so we'll use it as the handle of the racket. Forget about the rest of the head. I am holding a racket, and now I've seen that a ball is coming towards me. So uniturn is just one thing in which the upper part of the body is basically involved. What's basically happening for generating the force is the area that is below your waist, the legs. This is the place which will do some movement like this. This is the movement in which your knees are bent, and for a backhand shot, again, you bend your knees, and while you're taking your arm back, whether it's for the forehand or a double fisted backhand, or even for for a single fisted backhand, even for that one, observe that we go back a little. There is a bend. There is a bend. There is a bend in all the shots that you are trying to play. So why is this bend happening? This bending of the legs or the knees is basically the same thing through which you are transferring the energy within this area of the legs, so that all the potential energy will get transferred when you return back. When you will return back to your position, and while you're returning back, you're going to bring your racket towards the ball to transfer all that energy, because when you have returned back from the bent position to the straight one, the energy is now back in your upper body, and now it will travel through it, including the arm that is holding the racket. So basically you are using that energy of the legs, that the energy which was stored in legs, that is now traveling into your arm, and through the arm you are transferring it to the ball. So while brushing the ball and doing this coiling and uncoiling movement to return the ball, you have simply transferred that potential energy, which has become kinetic energy, into the ball, which is not only just spinning, but now will travel to a distance because of the power that you have just added with the bending and straightening of the legs. This is a little complicated thing. It appears technical, it appears difficult, but basically the movement is something like this. The ball coming, you receive and you do this. You and do this. Go back and this. You this. Bending and straightening. Bending and straightening. Bending and straightening. This is bending, straightening. Bending, straightening of the legs is something through which you are able to generate as well as transfer energy into the ball. And believe me, once you will master this technique, so it's not just what professionals do, it is something that you can do to enjoy the game. And the most important benefit that you're going to get out of it is that it will lessen the chances of developing tennis elbow, because you're not trying to generate energy and power through the arm or the elbow or just the wrist or the shoulders alone. You are generating power through the legs. By their bending and straightening movement, you are generating the power, and you are just using your arm as a relay center of the energy that is just carrying the energy and then transferring it to the ball. So instead of just generating, it's a carrier of energy to transfer it through the racket towards the ball. So this is the scientific explanation. I never wanted it to be that much rocket science or technical that it may become a little difficult for you people to understand, but believe me, just observe. This bending movement is quite prominent, especially among those players that are, let's say, right-handed and they are right eye dominant, which is why they have an open stance, and you're going to see this bending and straightening movement quite extensively in their shots, be it a forehand return or a backhand return. It will be quite prominent. So do check it out, do give it a try, do share your experience if you like it. I am even looking forward, I was planning to create a Patreon page also, in case you people like the videos. If you want to give me your support through Patreon, I'll share the link to that page also. It's entirely up to you, no promotion, just had this idea in mind. I came across a video which was telling me that it's a good crowdsourcing and funding resource. So if you people want me to review stuff related to tennis, bringing in more stuff, if you wish to know more about it, for which you want me to review, that's entirely up to you. I'll keep on sharing some stuff related to the tips and techniques. I'll be looking forward to create it in the form of a sequential list of videos that any aspiring tennis player wish to learn from. So they will be available in a sequence, and through which that individual would be able to learn a lot. This is my intention. Hopefully you have enjoyed this video also, and I'm coming up with some more interesting idea. But till that time, take good care of yourself and do try to use your legs as spring. Take care.